Welcome to Patricia's Potpourri. Today, I have a very, very special guest for you, and he is going to introduce himself. And you are?
Edward Mulraine.
And Edward Mulraine, what do you do?
What I do? I do a lot so far. But right now, I want to talk about this book, The 10-Step Man, author of The 10-Step Man.
But Edward Mulraine, I also know you as being a pastor.
Yes.
And I also know you as being a community activist.
Yes.
And you have done so many things.
Yes.
Okay. But now you say you're an author?
Yes, for the last 10 years, actually.
Well,
This is the third book.
This is the third book?
The third book, yes.
The 10-Step Man. And MAN is an acronym because it's M.A.N.
Right.
Okay. Could you tell me a little bit about the 10-Step Man?
Yes. Well, the acronym, if we left off with that, the acronym is actually Man of Armor Nation, because it wasn't just for one man. We're trying to build a nation of men that have certain spiritual, political understanding so that they can grow to be better men within our society. As you know, many times men get a bad rap in terms of how they're perceived, in terms of the things that they do, in terms
especially in this time.
Oh my gosh, a lot going on out there. But at the same time, I think that just like everyone has problems, men have their problems also. But I think that, like I say in the books, men can be fixed just like everybody else. I think that it starts with identifying, there is a problem, and then it starts with some solutions on how to deal with those problems so that we can get a better perception in our society. Because although men get a bad rap many times, it's not like it's untrue. Yes, there are certain things that are true, but it is also true that we can fix those things, and that's why I wrote this book. Because I wanted to start off with identifying those issues of men that we need to identify so that we can grow spiritually, because it is definitely a spiritual book. That's where my pastor side comes in. And it uses armor, the whole armor of God. If you're familiar with Ephesians 6 in the Bible, it talks about put on the whole armor of God. So basically what I did was I took each piece of armor, which talks about the helmet of salvation, it talks about the breastplate of righteousness, it talks about the feet fitted with the gospel of peace, it talks about the belt of truth. All of those are armor that the Bible talks about that you ought to put on in order for your own spiritual development and protection. And when you put those things on, then you become a better force in order to reckon against all those evil darknesses, demons that you fight against. So you need this armor. So what I did was I turned the armor, the helmet of salvation, into principles, the belt of truth into a principle of truth, into integrity, into a breastplate of righteousness. Righteousness is often associated with justice, which has to do with our community. So community is a principle in there. Feet fitted with the gospel of peace has to do with the direction that men walk in. And mentally, and it's a lot of different principles in this book. So I go through them one by one, build upon them, and throughout the book, I have men identify themselves or identify their issues. If you have an issue with anger, you need to identify that. If you have an issue with intemperance, you need to identify that. If you have an issue because your father left you, like my father, I did not know my father growing up. It was kind of difficult learning how to be a man growing up. And often when I do conferences, I talk about that first. I start talking about how men without fathers, it's pretty difficult growing up without a father when you have to navigate this world all by yourself. Mothers are good and mothers are loving and they're nurturing, and we need that. And I had a lot of that. But at the same time, I think we need a different dose when it comes time for that manly guidance, that manly navigation, that manly input into our lives in order to develop us in the combination that God really intended for us to grow up in. So I tackled that at the beginning. And the response with fatherlessness is a big one when I go to men's conferences, because they talk about that in depth. And as a result of that, I think I've become a better father. I have 3 beautiful children. They all cling to me, and they're very close. But I think that I did that as a result of not having one. So I think those issues ought to be identified, and then I go into issues of where do our demons come from? Why are we like we are, and what happens why we allow certain forces and agents and angers to take over our lives, and how we can best beat those things. And that's where the armor comes in. We need integrity. First, I start off with identifying the enemy. Then I start off with integrity. We have to be truthful. The truth of the matter is, like most people, all people, I deal with men, but you could women, children, everybody. We all have our demons. We all have things in our lives that perpetuate the worst in us. And it's unfortunate at times, but it's true. It's real. So what I ask men to do is just call out, be truthful. You integrity to say that this is my issue. And you don't have to blast it out or trumpet it in front of everybody, but at least with yourself. And it doesn't have
to be a man. Everybody has issues.
That's what I just said. Yeah, I'm just dealing with the man part, because many times the women have their own issues, and somebody else can write about that. I don't want to get into problems in terms of trying to identify what the women's issues are. I think that women ought to identify the issues, but the good thing about this book, a great thing about this book, is that many women read it, possibly more than men, because they're trying to understand men better. They're trying to say, you know what, if I had known that, then probably I would have been a little bit more patient with him. If I had known that, then probably I would have understood his background and why he does the things or do the things he does. I mean, it's a whole lot that women can gain from this book, and I explain it in here. And I explain it more to men to let them know that you can be a better person. And I use the biblical argument that, when God created all of us, God said that it was good. With man, woman, he said it was good. But I said when you get to Christ, for those who are Christian, and you have Muslim brothers who read this and different religions, so I don't, because no matter what denomination you are, no matter who you're serving, we all got that man stuff in us. And we use religion in order to make our lives better. So I don't care if you're Christian or you're Muslim or you're Jewish, whatever you may be, I think this book can help you. And it helps you to identify areas in your life that you need to conquer and you need to improve upon in order to make you a better man. Not only for other people, you make you a better man for yourself. Other people think, because if I become a better man for myself, I know I could be a better man for somebody else.
Wow. What urged you to write this book? What made you write this book?
Being a man, living life, being a father, being a man who has done conferences with men for most of my ministry, most of my life. As a civil rights activist, I was president of the NAACP. I engaged with men on a political level, so I knew a lot about politics. That's why I have a community section in here where it's very, very important that men go beyond themselves and do something for their community. It doesn't have to always result in political gain. It could just result in change, because you want to see young men grow up and see men within the community doing right. You want to see men in the home. So many people complain there are not men, no men in the home, and which is, I'm true, but sometimes it's not. And we have to look at that and say, and I look at the whole of my life, and like I said, the fatherlessness and all the other stuff, and I said, you know what? If I can rise above, I did pretty good for myself, considering I didn't have certain means. My mother wasn't the richest. My father was absent. But I don't use that as an excuse to say that I can't rise above any forces that might have been against me, whether it was the streets in terms of hanging around with certain people that I should not have when I grew up, or whether it was my financial situation, and my mom wasn't always the richest, whether it was my brother and sisters, and we weren't always the closest, we still were able to rise up by the grace of God. I got to thank God for that, but also rise up, not saying that you didn't get into it, but also rise above it, even if you did get involved in certain activities, in order to become the man that I am today. So I said to myself, why not share this information? Why not help another brother? Because it's something that we can gain information, but then we don't help somebody else. We keep things to
That's right.
ourselves. It becomes selfish.
That's true.
And it's selfish when you say, I've gained from the knowledge and the experiences that I have had in the past. And if I can discipline myself in order to put it on some pages to help another brother, why not? And that's just exactly what I did. I put it in a book. Like I said, this is my third book. I have a couple of others, and I have 3 or 4 more coming out. But this becomes my baby right now because it helped me to identify my own pains, my own struggles, my own emotional incapabilities and capabilities in order to become the man that I am today, and saying that I'm still working on it, because there's by no means suggesting that I'm perfect, but I am reasonable enough to know that I've come a mighty long way. And I thank God for that, and I thank those who are around me who inspired me to become a better man.
Are you doing anything with, we are so lucky now to have lots of institutions,
Yes.
schools
Yes.
with young men.
Right.
Are we marketing a book like that to schools like this so they can see that they can overcome any situation, that they can climb a ladder to success?
Yes, absolutely. Well, 2 areas I'm working on, and this book has already sold. I go to a lot of churches. I go to a lot of conferences. So this book is already over 5,000 copies. It's been in a lot of different places. A lot of men are using it for their men's ministry. They're using it for their fraternities. I mean, they're just using this book all over. I got a lot of dates coming up where I'm discussing this book, and we put it out there real strong. Young men are gravitating towards it, mostly from the encounters I've had with them in community circles as well as in church circles. So they've gravitated towards this. But I think who's gravitating towards it more, aside from the women who are purchasing it, are definitely men who are religious of any denomination, and those who I would say are 35 or older and up to 70. And they really grasp the book because, you know, the thing about men don't read, I challenge that. I think men read the things that they are interested in, and I think men read into situations, and men read visually. So that's why I made the cover like this, because when I said the cover was like this, when men look at things, they're going to look at first what it looks like. Then they're going to say, wait a minute now, that's Game of Thrones type stuff going on here. Let me see what they're talking about, right? And so then they're going to look at it, then they're going to go into it, because men don't like a whole lot to read it first. Just give it to me straight. The 10-step man. That means steps. Men like steps in their lives.
Tell me something about the 10 steps.
Yeah, that 10 steps. Well, like I said, it's built upon the whole armor of God, where you have, I would say, 8 pieces of armor that Paul talks about in Ephesians 6 in the Bible. And what I did was turn them into principles. And so when you talk about helmet of salvation, that has to do with one's mind. So we talk about the mind and how the mind can be influenced by information that goes in or out of it. And so you have to protect your head. You have to protect the information that goes into your head. You have to protect how you think, because what you think comes out of your mouth. You have to protect what you think also, because what you're feeling inside. A man is as he thinketh. And you got to be careful, because that could result in low self-esteem. That could result in the lack of capacity to move forward. It's a whole lot of things, the way you think of it. Like the Bible said, the Israelites at one point thought of themselves as grasshoppers against some giants. But if you have the strength within you, no matter how big things may seem, if you think of yourself as grasshoppers or small, you will be. But if you think of yourself as powerful and have the ability, then you will be that also.
Another thing is, those are the people you are around influence your mind.
Yes.
So try to be, it happened to me. I end up being around negative people can physically damage you.
Absolutely. And we talk about that a lot. I say to the people, you got to be careful who you surround yourself with in terms of your company. And that is where, in a section in this book, where I say it's all right to communicate with people. It's all right to have a conversation with people, but you don't have to stay around them, especially if they're feeding negative information to make you feel low, to get you into trouble, or to make you do things that you know in your heart is not right. And that's where your heart comes in, and we have this section called the breastplate of righteousness, or the shield of faith, because the shield, it blocks stuff from coming to you. When you look at any military, or you look at any historical setting within this type of uniform of armor, the shield was very important because that was the piece that blocked things from coming
That's
to
right.
you. Be careful what kind of information come your way. People like to throw things at you, and this it describes it as fiery darts. Fiery darts. This is like Captain America stuff if you're like you like the superheroes. Fiery darts are those things that come at you that you got to put up the shield to block. You ain't no good, block it. You can't do it, block it. I'm better than you, block it. You got to use things that you know how to block things in order to make yourself move towards the goal that God has for you, that you have for yourself, that other people know that you can do. So you open yourself up to the positive.
Wow.
You know, that's what you do, because that's the only way really you're going to achieve, if you open yourself up. So that's the mental part of it, the feet fitted, the direction we walk in. We got to watch where we walk. That's very important, the places we go. And a lot of men make the sad mistake of making the same mistake over and over again. And what it results in is more failure. And then you get mad at yourself because you get even more mad because every time you fail over and over again, it's hard to get out of that mentality or that experience. Now you become traumatized. Now you start believing you can't do it because you can't get out of it. But I say no matter how deep the ditch is, that there is a way out. That's right. That it just means you have to work harder. It just means you have to struggle more. But there is a way out. So the feet fitted in this book become very important, especially for men who are trying and failing. I tried to stop smoking. I tried to stop beating my wife. I tried, but they're still not succeeding. I think this book can help them because it shows how men are able to overcome. And I have testimonies in this book where I talk about it in terms of those men who have overcome and how they are able to continue on their path of righteousness in order to get to the place where they want to go. So it becomes very, very good in terms of that and in terms of that level. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, overcoming obstacles is so important.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Overcoming obstacles is so important. And I love when you talk about that. And I love the part about the shield, protecting yourself.
That's right.
And be careful what's coming towards you.
That's right.
The negativity that people will try to bring you down, lower your self-esteem.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right. Yeah. That becomes very important. I'm a big advocate of civil rights, and one thing it has to do is resiliency. And Martin Luther King, one of the best weapons he had, and people didn't realize how effective it was that if you have to be resilient, but also things that people say and throw at you, you can't let it get to you.
Got to bounce back.
You got to be able to bounce back. But, it would be so good if I called you a name, because you know how people call each other names. We've been called names for years. Black people have been called names for years. And some have allowed it to stop them. Whereas others, like Martin Luther King used to do with the nonviolent movement, no matter how hard they throw it at you, don't let them provoke you into becoming like them. And it would be so good if we develop that resiliency, if we develop that armor in order to allow stuff to get to us.
I would like to take this from Pharrell. He said, here comes bad news talking this and that. Give me all you got.
Right.
So don't hold me
That's
back.
right.
Because I'm happy.
That's right.
So whatever you can.
That's right.
Don't bring me down.
That's right.
Yes,
Matter of
yes.
fact, I'm going to use what you throw in order to step on it to get to the place I got to go. There we go, right there.
Yes, yes,
in order to step on it, in order to get to the place where I go. In other words, no matter what other people throw at you, you must be doing something for people to throw at you. If the devil keeps throwing stuff at you, it must be something that he's trying to prevent you from getting to that's good for your life. So no matter how many tough people throw at you, just take it in stride. I'm not saying you shouldn't fight back. I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk back. I'm just saying don't allow it to stop you. Because the problem is, and I have it in the book, people will stop and argue with other people and argue with them for a certain amount of time. if you're going to say something, say what you got to say and keep on going. Don't let people get you stuck in a position where you're going back and forth with them, because it only stops your progress.
It messes with your mind.
It messes with your mind. Yeah, it messes with your mind. And even if it messes with your mind, keep on walking. You may mess with my mind for the moment of what you said, but I'm not going to stay there and exchange words with you, because I know I got somewhere to go. And if I stop because you said something, it's just going to mess up where I'm going.
That's a blocker.
And you got a lot of blockers. You got a lot of haters. You got them out there, but they've been there. It is not new. If you get to a certain place in life, you've had to come through some haters. You've had to come through some people who tried to block you. You've had to come through some obstacles. You've had to even challenge yourself, which is our biggest obstacle. Many times our biggest obstacle. That's why I ask men in the beginning of the book, I say, examine yourself, so that you know just exactly what it is that's interfering in your life from getting you to the place you have to go and being the awesome person who you are. Identify it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And there's a word for that, self, like looking into yourself,
Right.
And trying to find
Self-examination, right.
Self-examination.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to examine yourself. Every morning you get up, you have to examine yourself. Every time you fail, you have to examine yourself. Every time you respond to something, you have to examine yourself. Did I respond to that the right way? Did I let them get to me? You know, what is it in that? Not what's in it that's in them. That's one thing. We know people got their problem. But what is it in me that caused me to lose it once they did what they did? And what is it in me that's not capable of forgiving somebody who's done wrong to me?
You know, that's strong for young men.
That's it. It is.
That is so strong.
Right.
What is there in, what can I do, and
Yeah.
what I love that. I
Yeah.
love it.
But I think for young men it's more difficult, especially like I said, if they're coming from certain environments and if they're coming from fatherless homes. I think early in their stages it's all about responding. You don't want to look weak. You don't want to look like a punk. You don't want to look like a chump. You don't want to look like those things. So the immediate thing to do is to respond. I think after you get into consequences, or hopefully you have somebody to guide you and give you that understanding that, listen, you don't have to respond to everything someone does, because you know what that results in. If somebody says something to you, or if somebody did something to you wrong, now you're going to go and shoot them, and now you in jail. Now you locked up for years. And the other thing I was going to say about this, a lot of men, we're connecting with the jail population, those who are imprisoned right now, in order to get them this book around the nation. And this will be a major reader for brothers in prison. So I'm working on that with somebody in order to make sure that happens. And I got a guy who's pretty wealthy who's going to fund this going into the prison system.
And make it available for them.
Make it available to them, and for them, to them, in order to have them, when they come out, and I get the greatest hope for brothers, when they come out, they would have already know the tenements of being a better man.
Because we are talking about restructuring,
Right,
the system,
right,
about jail. So
that's right.
this would be
this is right on point with it. Restructuring the prison system, but restructuring the brothers so that they won't go back into prison. Recidivism rate is still very high. Brothers come in just to come out, just to go back in. Come out just to go back in. But just imagine if you worked on yourself, like Malcolm X and many others, while they were in there, they worked on themselves. So when they came out, they had a purpose for dealing with this society, dealing with this community, dealing with this world.
But while they are working on themselves, they need a guide.
Right.
They need a guide.
They need the 10-step man. They need this guide right here. And I did it in a way where it's by step. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Because men like guides. They like things that they can put together. You go to Home Depot, they like to put things together. That's why you see all the men in there, they're putting things together. They're going in there, they're trying to figure out how it works. When you read the men's magazines, men's journal, it's about how to. So men love guides. And so this becomes a guide of 1, 2, 3. And you have 10 steps in here that you can work on.
I got to thank you so much, Pat. Should I call you Pastor Mulraine?
You could call me Pastor, you could call me Author, you could call me...
Author.
It's all good.
Or Hey, how about mentor?
That's right. That too.
Okay.
I'll work with it.
Okay, and I really want to tell you, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
I mean, one day, would you please come back?
Let me know.
Would you come back with one of your other books?
Absolutely.
Now you have me wondering what would the other books are.
Let me say this. If you look on edwardmulraine.com, that's edwardmulraine.com.
Could you spell Mulraine for
Mulraine. Edward, Mulraine.com. You look on there, you'll see various articles. There's a lot of articles that I have on there. There are a lot of interviews that I have on there. And my 3 books are on there. But the next book coming out, watch it. We're talking about the movies for this one.
Okay.
You watch that.
I want to thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mulraine.
And God bless you.
This is Patricia's Potpourri. And as you know, this episode, all previous episodes of Patricia's Potpourri is on YouTube. So please go to YouTube, and you might want to see this over and over again, because there were things that I would love to catch again in this particular interview.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.
Thank you. God bless you, dear.
What do you wish for? A nice life? Nice things? Or do you wish for something more? A sense of purpose? Do you wish to discover a cure? To write code that cracks an unsolvable question? To further our exploration into space? Or to invent something that changes everything right here on Earth? Well, if that's your wish, make yourself ready. Because when you look back, you'll see that you didn't just make wishes, you realized them.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school.
It's been so amazing to be able to give our child the life that we kind of pictured us having, even though we didn't really have that.
I've been in foster care my whole life.
He's so strong to just be able to leave that all behind and still be able to take care of his daughter and be a good husband.
Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. This cannot be real. I could not have done it alone.
We've been through so much in our life, and he never used that as an excuse, but as motivation to do better.
I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.